welcome to Laugh and Monkey Music Show. Today with special guest Frankie. How are you, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm going to have you on. I thought about you a while back, and the world gets spinning. But then in my feed, you have a single out too, so it's just great timing.
Yeah, serendipitous, man.
Serendipitous, but people don't know Frankie. I mean, I got a lot of rock followers, a lot of my fan or whatever. King of the Hill, great band. You know, of
Came and
course, then
went.
the show.
Came and went.
If I'm talking about it, can't be that bad that you're gone. I mean, a lot of people do. I mean, I think it didn't help is the show title annihilated any kind of internet presence.
Right.
Seriously, you Google it and it's like, what? You know, I don't
Totally.
even know what to say about that. But you guys, fantastic band. I
Thank you.
think, and I do think I'm glad you're going on. Is you've had a whole full career. You're a great singer. You're not just a singer. You're an entertainer, and there's an energy about you, a charisma. You
Thank you.
know, you're welcome. And I think it makes it fun to watch somebody just start looking at their shoes. So obviously,
Yeah,
the time you guys came out was a hard period too, also
oh
for rock
yeah, man. We
because
were right. Right at the end, and we just didn't slip through the crack, Funny story, the head of the label wanted us to put out the ballad first, which if I say first, if that would have happened, we'd still be playing county fairs playing that one,
yeah, it's a good
It was
song though.
still a hell of a ride, man. We still had a great time. I have fans to this day, like yourself, that still reach out and want to know what's going on. And I've never stopped playing, still standing. I'm still here. Still have, fans coming out to the shows. So it's a good run, man.
Well, you're not a rock star per se. You're definitely more of the school of being a singer, songwriter, performer, and that's why we're talking today.
Yeah,
Because if you were working three jobs, you'd still be doing music. Clearly, you're
absolutely. I
very
tell people this all
successful.
the time. It's like you have to remember the thing that you wanted to do. You can't base it on what people think and the music business. What is the music business these days, right? It's nothing that
Those
what
are
it,
the two craziest words together. That's like music.
exactly music
Now
and
it's like I don't like military and peace belonging in the same
it
sentence.
doesn't
This
work,
doesn't
right?
work.
You got to remember that you would have done this you did it before anybody knew you could do it. You did it before you
Mhm.
got any kind of recognition from it. You've done it before you got paid to do it. During the pandemic, we all find out those of us that have to create and have to play and have to perform, we did it anyway, right? We just did it with our friends, or we did it back on streams. We had this great run of happy hour streams that we did, and people just like to see us playing, because that's what we do. And that doesn't stop. The recognition comes and goes, the money comes and goes and comes back again and goes away again. It's about doing what you love to do and still having something to say and still being able to do it and people giving a shit. You know what I mean?
It is, and I think that's one of the things. And I was going to say, I think even despite that, I think one of the things that you guys had something. You guys were in a weird niche where I don't think you guys were really a metal band. I mean, you guys had the risks of the metal.
Right.
You guys had some funk and soul, and there were bands that were challenged at the same time. I loved Bang Tango, and not even loved, but loved the music of Bang Tango. They
Yeah.
were in a weird niche, and it was hard for them also.
We were cookie cutter enough to be hated on, but not cookie enough to be,
Exactly.
to knock it out of the park. You know what I mean? We came up at a time that's how we looked, and that's what we did, and that's what everybody else did, and
Yeah, it
and
made sense to do it, but I'm saying
we
I
had a
think there
lot
was
of
more to
fun. You know
you.
what I mean? I will never look back on those times. We did what we did, and we had a blast doing it. You know,
If
so
there's
I
a
don't.
time period to be a rock guy in, that was a time period. That is any band to be in. That's the
That
time.
is the era to be in, right? And we got just the tail end of it, but it's
Right.
everything that you imagine that it was and more. You know what I mean? The
More.
stories that all of us from that era can tell, are insane. And they were for everyone, wherever you were in the food chain. You know what I mean? It was a good time.
It's fun and there's a lot of fun music and there's like different types of music. But what's great is, see, I'm 54, I'll be 55, so probably all and me and you and all the artists are all the same
Yeah,
10
we all
years,
the
15
same
years. Like they
generation. And yeah,
all same generations. We all grew up on certain types of rock bands in the 70s and 60s. We all like the same horror films and comedy films and you know.
yeah,
But as we get older, the songwriting, I mean, the musicality of you you've done different bands, different projects, and people go on YouTube and check out the stuff he's done. There's some great different projects he's done. Your voice has always been there, but you always have that great little funk feeling and that ballad feeling where you're much more of a pop performer that had a great band.
Yeah.
King of
So
was a great band.
yeah, I
Nothing about
always
those
had
guys, but
those.
you are a pop singer.
Yeah, I had those two lines. I love a big catchy hook. Always, always. I love anthem type sing-alongs, right? As a
Yeah.
front man, who doesn't, right? Um, but I always had those two lanes in me, I was one part David Lee Roth, part Prince, part, Aerosmith, part, the time. Like I always had both genres going on. And back then it was like, you're either this or you're that. So they try to say like you're funk metal or but we were
Because
neither, right? You know what I mean?
which I think was hard for them with you at the time
Exactly.
because
Because when people, they want to, put you in a box and that's where you go and they know what to do with you. It's not even, you know, it's just nature of the game, man. They have to, everyone has to figure out who you are so they can introduce you to who will like you and purchase you. You know what I mean? But now, what is really cool about it is you can be whoever you want. You can be who you really are. You can be, I spent a lot of time being what I was supposed to be, right? And it served me well. I've had a great life because of it. But now I can just be who I am. No one gives a shit. Like no one's waiting for the album to come out. So when it comes out, it finds its tribe, it finds its people, it finds its community. And that's cool, man. And it happens with every kind of music, every kind of genre, every kind of artist. And I think it's a great time to be creative if you still are. You know what I mean? A lot of people our age have given up. A lot of people our age have, faded out and been like, man, because it
seeing
is
the
a
resurgence though in COVID though, I've seen on my show with some artists that have been touring forever or in the whatever. I think a few things happened and then we step on you. Few like some of them like they got touring, songwriting albums. A lot of them came out with the best albums they've done in years.
exactly.
Refreshed to tour again. Couldn't wait to get out of the house away from their spouses and kids. Maybe that's true, but maybe it is
That's
true.
probably part of it as well.
Probably true. Their spouses probably pushed them out the door. But what I'm saying is, I think everybody got to take it. I'm not talking about the horrible negative happens. We all lost people. But I'm saying, but the positive part for the art of music and just art and creativity part, I think it gave time to replenish their souls. Does that sound
Absolutely.
cheesy?
No, absolutely.
And to
What you're
recognize
supposed to.
who you were. Like, wait a minute, I'm in my room now. I don't have to go on tour to make enough gas to tour to this next place. Man,
Right.
touring musicians, bless their hearts, for doing it day in and day out. They got a
It's a
break,
grind,
and you
man.
sit
It is a
down and
grind.
yeah, and it's allowed artists, and it's also a lot of people refocus like you, and that's what it's excellent. Let me. That's kind of why I started the show at that time because I didn't need it, but I did it because artists need to have real conversations, and let's get a lot of people doing this. With an artist like you, who's just a songwriter, and it's always about the song for me. Like, what is a song? And then if I go to your show, I love a performance.
Right.
But if you do the song good and it's really complicated, I'm cool with that too. But man, I love a good performance when I'm at the show for a good song.
Right. They're two different worlds, right? The one is embodying what that song meant. But when you write the song, it's always, you never write a song in front of 10,000 people. You never write a song in front of 5,000 people. You write a song by yourself or with the guys in the band or with your collaborators, or it's always a very intimate time. And then you reveal it. And then if you're all getting into it, then you think you got something. Then you think, well, maybe other people will. I got a message the other day, about the song and how much it meant to this person, stranger in Brazil, just amazing message, how, brought him to tears and whatnot. And it's just like, that's why any of us do this. You do it because you have to do it. And then you feel like it's cool enough that you want to share it. And putting anything out there is tough, man. More props to anybody, whether you like it or not, whether you think it sucks or whether you think it's amazing. The fact that someone finished an inspiration to an idea and got it to a point to put it out and then have the balls to just let anybody else check it out, that takes a lot just right there. Much less then it starts connecting with people, strangers, right? And that's why we do it, because it's cool enough for us to listen to. Then we want to share it with our friends, with our families, with our fans, with strangers, and then they tell us, hey, I hear what you're saying, man. You feel connected. This is the whole point of any art, right? Whether it's a painting or a instrumental piece or a pop song or a solo. If someone else feels it, then you did your job. And really, you started out by it's not a job. You just did it because it was in you and you had to get it out of you so the next thing can come. That's really how it comes. You know, we have to unload. You live, you take in, then you have these periods of output where you put out, then you give out, and then sometimes you get it back, man. They're like kids, right? Sometimes they grow up and they graduate to be these things that you're so proud of, and sometimes they don't quite hit the mark, or you're like, you go back and you tweak, tinker with it. On this album, I went back, got some songs that I had done, with now 30 years of life behind them. I can sing them, the lyrics different. I can feel it different. So I think it's a cool collection. I'm old
Can
enough.
we talk about that?
Yeah.
Like, actually, before we get ahead, as you talk about that, for people that are a little lost behind, so people may not know you. If I say song and stuff, I don't usually do a soup to nuts because you guys always, as artists, get beat down with the pedestrian stuff. But for the few people that aren't hip, because there's not a lot out there I knew either. King of the Hill did one album, then you went and did Dr.
We did a
Zhivegas.
second album that they didn't release. We
Right.
had some action with
Just a 2-minute warning to catch up for people that aren't aware. I just want
Sure.
people to know.
Sure. So we had a If I Say popped on Billboard. We had a video in rotation on MTV. We toured around on that one. We got a lot of fans that noticed. Right? We opened up for Extreme over in Europe right when they were.
That makes sense. That show makes sense because they get the.
That was a great bill, man. I mean, the fans.
That would be.
About it. They were awesome.
That would be a good bill to the
day. It was a good fit musically, and we both brought the house down every night, and people are still coming online, which is pretty cool. And made an impression 30 years later,
So, but in the meantime, you've done a lot of the solo projects. I mean, people see you've popped up, and your peers still know who you are and love you just because you haven't been so much in the press as much as I think you should have been commercially. But I mean, you're playing with with all the rock bands.
Yeah, I mean,
you're showing up everywhere. You got the
I've never stopped. I've never had a. Right. We laugh, and this is a hard way to make an easy living. But I've been a professional musician for my entire life, and the fans have kept me living and well and working. So I have no complaints in that department. I've touring shows. I've been doing it for all of these years. So we haven't stopped. But what's happened now, I think. Pandemic influenced, obviously we talked about that earlier, but, I'm old enough that I'm looking back, young enough that I'm still looking forward and still excited about what I'm working on. But now I'm getting to that age where I'm starting to look back on things and with a better lens, right? When you look back, when you're younger, you don't appreciate it, or you're maybe frustrated with how things worked out or didn't work out for you. But when you're older, you can look back and realize the level of things that you accomplished or the experiences that you had. And you have a different lens as an older dude to be like, man, that was the shit. Those were the times, man. You know what I mean? Still have good times today. You know what I mean? Everything's great. But like looking back, it's a little bit of, it's been fun actually to look back and appreciate way more now than I did at the time.
Yeah.
I think they always say, what would you tell your 24-year-old self? Slow down. And really take it in, because it goes by so fast, man. And you're grinding. Back then, you're grinding, man. You're doing shows, you're doing interviews, you're doing press. You're just in the studio. You're back on the road. You're just trying to make things happen. And it goes by so fast that it's still, you start looking at these videos, start looking at these pictures. And you're like, wow, man. We saw the world, I saw the world with my buddies. You know what I mean? We were a gang, and we're just playing rock and roll, and that took us around the world.
Great music. I mean, that's
right. Yeah, I mean, you can't live in the life, living your dreams. These are all things that most people don't ever get to do because they give up or timing isn't right or whatever. But to have a life of dreams lived, and there's not much on my bucket list, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a good life. It still is a good life. It's creative, it's peaceful, it's all these great things. So I'm kind of in that mode. So when I was putting this record together, songs were coming to me. I was going back to my vaults and redoing songs, like I said. And the album's called I'm Still Standing. It's coming out in August. First single came out in March. It's called Sweet Surrender. You can stream and get that anywhere.
Yeah, the links will be all beneath the podcast and YouTube.
And then the new single is
also subscribe to his naked channel there, his YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Let's get some people on that one. Let's look at the numbers up there.
Yeah, man. You got some good stuff. The Parsi stuff was awesome. That was great.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not saying for you though. I want you to go subscribe. People subscribe to your channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you got some good stuff coming, so please to keep up on your stuff.
Thank you, sir.
On your YouTube.
But yeah, we opened up for Piercy with when Juan was with them. King of the Hill did a reunion show,
Oh
and
yeah.
we were on the bill with that. That was fun. Um, like you said, these are the guys that when we were kids, we were like, the shit, man. And then I got to do it and got to play with these people and got to tour with these people. So it was a fun run, man. Really.
You have the same attitude because on some level, just because you didn't get the same commercial success, it's still the same. Everyone still had played out that same period. So to me, it's a relative peer group.
Yeah.
And when you play now, if you hang out with any of these groups, these artists, you know them, or you've spoken to them off camera or whatever. I mean, we'll talk about Piercy. Piercy is Stephen Piercy. He is more laid back and no ego. It's like we've talked off the air, no ego. Like that's one of the problems I think we're having now with a lot of the artists that have these huge egos, and it's not. And I hate to be like, get off my lawn, because I always make that joke, but
I mean, it's all paper,
like
man.
but generationally though, like the artists that are still doing it and are really, really getting it, I've always done it because they love it. And Piercy's huge because he's the real thing. You know, I think your music's gonna come out and people are gonna love it because you're the real deal. People want real music, but they
Yes.
also want an artist that could also be someone they talk to. I think there's the above beyond thing, the artists that you see on stage that are getting mad because the audience
Yeah,
isn't
there's certain
clapping and
people.
stuff.
Yeah, it's an X factor.
Oh,
Certain people have it, certain people don't. You can't make it happen. How people perceive you is how people perceive you, right?
if
You
you're a
could,
kind person though, it still can carry over if you no matter how large you get, and that doesn't always
right, right,
translate well.
right, right. And the same person can have seasons of their life where they're not cool to be around, man. You know what I mean?
Right,
Every
right, but
human
still,
being, everyone's going through this thing. And, when you stand out on stage in front of thousands of people, it's a weird thing, man. I fortunately had a great, my pops was awesome. And he said, look, I'm very proud he's slim. Love, more proud of you than I could ever be. But when you are home, you are my son. You respect your mother. When I tell you take out the trash, you take out the trash. I don't care how many handlers you have. And he's right.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that kept me on the straight, right? You gotta, he always said he was in media, he was a camera guy and stuff, and he was like, you got to be cool to the crew and you got to be cool to these people because you're going to see them on the way down, then on the way up again, and then on the way down again. And I've lived my life that way.
That's the most important people though. In a business, the secretary, I'm not saying male or female, is the most important person. In a building,
Absolutely.
the janitors are the most
Absolutely,
important people
guys.
in a
They
building.
know what's
You need
going
to
on,
realize the
man.
most important people are. And those are secrets of life, people. Write that stuff down.
No, that is, man. You know what I mean? You're standing out there
It's
with the spotlight on you, and there's dozens of people that make that happen. You know what I mean? Every night, you know.
and to make it work is hard. And so for you as a songwriter though, and you say you have vaults, I know I get the piano there, but I also believe you play guitar, and clearly you're a singer, but of all types of music. And in your bands, you've done a lot of cover type of music, and you've done a lot of originals, and I've seen you like featured on other artists. You've done quite a mixture. What are you writing like when you say your vaults? Do you have like demoed out albums? Do you have like a mixture of King of the Hill?
I
Because I know
have,
you've reunited over the times with the band and like mixtures. Like,
yeah, I mean, I have hard drives full of songs finished, songs mastered, songs recorded, songs demos, songs tracked up. I mean, I have my own studio, so everything is pretty much tracked up pretty good that can turn into a master if you re-sing it or overdub it or change the tones. So
Mhm.
we were always recording. I'm always recording, and I'm always recording as it's a master. I don't really do demos anymore, and that I don't mean that arrogantly at all. But
Well,
the
if you
way
have
we
your own
write
studio,
it,
really, there really isn't anymore. You're roughing it and then you're
right,
fixing it. I
it's a
mean,
real thing. It can be that final if you want it to be. It's all up to how we've all been doing this so long that there's really no red light-itis. It just rolls, and we just to do it. If it feels good, we keep it, move on, track it up, overdub it. Hey, this one's pretty good. We'll see what happens with that later. When you were younger, you did your demos, you played your demos for someone, they decided which songs you're going to rehearse, then that's going to be your record. And then somebody else came in and I had great mentors and great producers like, Howard Benson. I learned a lot, but my thing is I didn't go to college making those records for the major
yeah,
labels. That was my college. I learned how to make records. I learned how to stack vocals. I learned how to comp vocals. I learned how to arrange
yeah.
them. Being in a cover band for all of these years, you learn how some of these great, amazing songs were put together because you deconstruct them. So you can, I've never been a great cover band, but I've had great cover bands because we do them our own way. and we stay true to the spirit of the song. And to do that, you have to deconstruct. So you learn arrangements, you learn how things are stacked, you learn how parts are done, you learn how overdubs were happening, and that all helps you as a producer and as a writer later in life. You know, every
I agree. I've
song
said
and
that. I
album that's
mean,
out there is like an encyclopedia if you are hungry and curious enough. You know.
I said I would just go for recording in the '90s, like literally when your album's out, around the time I was getting to be in recording and music business and video and stuff in studio, which went out the window. Just when grunge came, the Apple came out with a home studio on the computer. So I was
Yeah.
also feeling when I got to college, I had the same thing happen to me. I'm like, what the? That's my. But one of the things I've said though, yeah, one of the things I've said though is when you're an artist, especially doing the cover bands and being on tour, that is your rock and roll college because you are learning how to write a song. You know, this is verbatim what I've said because I agree with this. It's funny to hear somebody say it exactly because it's awesome. I agree. I'm like, you don't realize the education you're getting. That's fun because after school parties are way cooler when it's music than it is an after school party, maybe at a tech institute, maybe I don't know, but.
Look, man, we were in a cover band before we got signed. And by the time we went on the road, playing a half hour as an opener was nothing. You know, we played 4 hours a night, 28 days in a row, 2 days off. You know, like we were insane. We did our 10,000 hours or whatever, 100,000, whatever it is that they say you have to be an expert in something. By the time we got out on the road, I mean, it was nothing for us to play 35 minutes in a theater or an arena because we had played so much. Same since, right? I can play anywhere at any time. My band can play in front of 25 people or 2,500, 25,000 people. It's the same deal. Yes, you get a little more, you make a little more sometimes, you know what I mean? But you either
Making money in music, by the way, doesn't suck. Selling a song doesn't suck.
and that
A
alone
commercial doesn't
is an
suck. I'm
accomplishment.
telling you right now, I support every artist. Make every cent you can. Whether it's merchandise, a meet and greet, a commercial, make that money.
Just do it,
Just put
right?
it
There's
out there.
no selling out anymore, man. It doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
I'm
It's
not
about
selling out, going to job every week,
thing.
get a check. I'm not a sellout. Want to do my job.
That's
It's
right.
just different than you.
You know what I mean? At the
We're
end of the day,
different.
all of us, all we want to do is be successful enough to keep doing it because we would do it for free. But since we don't have to do it for free, we have to figure out ways that we just want to keep doing this. We want to keep playing. We want to keep recording. We want to keep writing. We want to keep singing, keep doing your podcast. You want to do these things. So you want to be successful enough that you can keep doing them. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're a car salesman or you flip houses. You still want to do it enough that you can keep doing it. Right? And at the end of the day, you look back and say, hey, I guess I was successful at this because I'm still doing it, you know?
And you should make some extra mad money because there is no 401k in rock and roll plan. So
No, man, there's no retirement plans for guys like us, man.
That's actually the joke is the one hit wonder, and I hate the phrase one hit wonder because I don't think it's true. Also, but because you have one good song that everybody loves. You get to go to bed, and someone's told me if I say or maybe not, I do, you might not be the song that changed their life. Maybe
if
I'm
I
not
say
gonna,
for sure,
I'm not gonna
I've
cast a
got letters.
judgment, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
World
it's
changing
crazy.
song came out, and they tell you that. Oh my God, I can't imagine a better gift as a musician.
That's why you
song
do
that.
it. You do it to connect. Ultimately, if you get past all the bullshit, all the trappings, all of the, parameters of success, the real success is that you want to connect with someone. And my way of connecting is by expressing myself in the song. And so when it does connect to somebody, I never take that lightly because it's such a huge gift. It really is. I get messages every morning, every day. Love this song. This song means so much to me. Or this was our song for, help me through this time of my life. Like to be the soundtrack, to be even in the playlist of someone's life soundtrack is such a huge fucking thing, man. It's like, you can't take that lightly. They cared enough, thought enough about whatever you were expressing, because at some point you felt the same thing, right? But you just were able to verbalize it or express it. And then for them to hold on to that, and it means something to them in their life, a stranger, and that's the sound that they're listening to when they're going through something, but they're happy, they're jamming, or remembering a time, or they're sad. Like you're part of that soundtrack. That is an amazing, huge, it's a genuine gift, man. And none of us take that for lightly, because it's really we do it to share, otherwise we keep it to ourselves. Right.
Which you still would do. You'd still do, but the bonus is like once you get past the first part, you're like, now I want to share it. And then if it's equally shared, then it's even better. It's like making dinner.
Then it starts growing beyond.
It's a sandwich. But if I make dinner for everybody and everybody loves it, it's even better.
Yeah. I wrote a song, if I say when I was 22 years old, man, people to this day still talk about that song, you know? Yeah, maybe it wasn't number one on Billboard, but it doesn't matter. People still, they connect to it. And that is the reason that I wrote in the first place, not even realizing it. Because as a kid, I didn't realize. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. I had an agenda, I was focused on a goal and a mission, you know what I mean? But when you look back, you think, that's cool, man. It did what it was supposed to do, you know?
It, and also, I mean, you probably tons of number one hits that people don't even know anymore, but they know your song and it was a number one hit. So I mean, in the long run, does it really matter? You don't
It
realize that
doesn't
when you're
matter. It
writing
just
it.
matters what it means to that person. And if
But
enough
nowadays, I mean, we're looking back,
people,
it's even better. Look back and go, you know what? There's a lot of number one songs that nobody knows, but they know my song.
yeah.
So it's all, you know, that. What is the process of you writing songs? And I guess I'm sorry, two questions actually. And the second part of that is actually we'll start that and go back. Howard Benson also did Bang Tango. So when you guys were in the studio, was there any overlap of saying, hey, I kind of feel like this is a good sound?
Not
You know what I'm
really.
saying?
Howard was really good about that. He had his systems and his methods, but you know, whether it was Tough, whether it was Bang Tango, you know, Pretty Boy Floyd, like we were all in that same kind of club, and we had some crossover as being friendly with each other, but he kept those pretty separate. Like,
No, man, like understanding that like this is a good sound for you guys are a good funk band because he knew, you know, Bang Tango, see what I'm saying?
right,
Like he did,
right.
you didn't forget,
And they were
because
ahead
a
of
lot
us,
of
so he was
producers
doing things
had a
with,
set,
you know,
right. He could honor it, whereas in the past, like there was not a lot of bands were like kind of metally and rocky, but also kind of funky.
right.
That
I
have
think
the advantage
Howard's
of being like,
strength.
oh, you can be different.
Yes, absolutely. But I think Howard's strength is, and always has been, is he really centers on that vocal, because I think if a listener
Yeah.
can connect to the vocal, then you got your song, right? So he taught me a lot about that and about how to record it and how to capture it, you know?
I've yet to speak with him, but I'm gonna tell you this, someday, I think his strength is he's got a fantastic ear and he's got a strong opinion.
Oh
And I
yeah. Oh,
think,
he's awesome, man. I talked to him not
no,
too
I'm
long.
saying, no, no, I mean that in a good way. I mean,
Yeah,
because in the world of music, you need to have a strong opinion and a goal. You
absolutely.
can't be pulled off it
That's
by
what
a
the job
thousand
of a
other
producer is,
opinions.
right? He's trying to get you to the finish line. You know what I mean?
You need a leader to steer the ship.
Exactly. So, you know, going back to songwriting, I think they're
Yes,
always
please.
different. They're always different. Sometimes I'll hear a melody in my head that I cannot get away from. For me, it's like a radio station. I always hear these songs done, and it's about, okay, now how do we do this? How do we execute it? How do we
Mhm.
get it out? Sometimes it's a rhythm, sometimes it's a chord progression, sometimes it's a melody, sometimes it's a lyric, and that you just can't get out of your head. And it's just always there. So you just write it. I mean, Sweet Surrender was my first single. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, 2 words. I couldn't get out of my head. The next morning I woke up, wrote the song. And sometimes they come quick. Sometimes you know, I've got songs on here that I've been working on for, 20-something years that I finally figured out how to, this here it is, you know? So
So is
every
it usually a
song,
melody though, on some level, or is it sometimes a riff, a
yeah,
piano?
it's different for everything, you know? It could be a phrase, melody, a rhythm, a chord progression, like you just, just hearing it and you're just like, hey, that's
Yep.
cool. I got memos everywhere like everybody else, you know what I mean? You can't get in the studio. Um, Fortunately, I have one. Fortunately, I've got a great, amazing band. I can call them up and say, hey, come on in today. What are we doing? I
Mhm.
got an idea. And then at the end of the day, we got a record, which is awesome. You know what I mean?
So what is the plan now that it's doing the album? You get the single out, another single comment, and the
Yep.
album. Is it going to be you doing a tour with you doing maybe new album stuff, maybe a tour or not a tour? Like, how are we going to do this? Some King
For
of the
sure.
Hill, some
So
original, some
first single came out
covers.
in March. The second one, Those Are the Nights, is coming out in May 2nd, which you're gonna love this one. It's a throwback for sure to the glory days, those hair band days and crazy nights. Kind of my love letter to the fans, to the band, to all the people kind of that era. So that's coming out in May. And then I've got another one in June. Then the albums comes out in August. And then we'll talk about doing some dates for sure. I mean, I haven't stopped playing for 30 years, so I'm wrapping up the Zhivegas stuff that I've been doing for a
Yeah.
while, and so it's given me some time to be able to get out here and do this and kind of focus on this new project. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Well, one thing that artists people don't realize is being a band like that, like you were in, and playing those kind of gigs are good for an artist because good to make money. It's good to have a home. It's good to perform your art. But if you can't sing and playing, it's hard for you to continue to be singing and songwriting if you can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you stay in that wheelhouse, because you're still doing the same thing. It's just the market's different for originals. You're still writing. It's just you're just doing it
That's the
differently.
thing. I've never stopped, right?
Right.
I've been a cover band and very successful and for many, many years, but I never stopped producing, never stopped writing, never stopped being, you don't stop being a creator because people don't recognize you as one, right? You're still, you either are or you are not one, right? And if you are, you're still going no matter what, you know, and I still will be going. This is just a stop off, a collection, if you will, a kind of a marker. It's one of these markers in life, right? We have all these little signposts in our life of things that happen or things that we experience or seasons that we lived. And this one now, it's time to stop, take note of it. And I kind of put this collection together and putting it out, and that'll be this little era. You know what I mean? And it feels good.
Well, you're in a good area. I think, and I would compliment artists to do it, because to survive being from one type of artist and different people, and people are picky, or you know, a lot of time the market that was buying your albums like that, everyone's albums, everyone stopped going to college and got jobs and kids and stopped buying albums. So big help with the original artists that knew you, that economy went. So you pivoted and still did something in your industry that was just as good, just different. And people will think if you're not on their TV screen on 3 different channels, you've vanished. And I think one
that
thing
doesn't
that's
even
important for
exist.
me is that's not true. That's not even
Right.
true. Yeah, but my point is that's not true. This artist continued to perform, to sell out houses and shows for the past, 20, 30 years, however long you've been doing it, continually.
Yeah,
It's not
there's still
like,
thousands of people out there coming. You know what I mean? It's like,
at some point, so people need to realize that you just pivoted, it's still a little different, and so you're here, now you're there. What about distribution and like doing songs? Because you could really just on your website just feel like digital downloads,
yeah, I mean,
songs.
it's
I don't need
everywhere.
this. No, but for you though, like, what are you looking at now? Because it's a new world.
It's a whole new
solo
world.
stuff.
So, I mean, but it's on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get music, any format, type in my name, Frankie Muriel, it'll pop.
Are you going to control or like own it and then push off to a record label?
Yeah, it's distributed
here.
for a company through Orchard, which is part of Sony. But like I said, none of that matters anymore, man. You click your name, you can find it, you can get it, you know. And that's
for an artist,
for
an artist, you can kind of fine tune and still sell less albums and do better because you're in control.
Absolutely, because you retain it all, right?
You can sell 100 and get the value of 100,000.
Exactly. And if you have the infrastructure, you're even doing better, right? I'm not renting a studio. I'm not hiring, producing. You know what I mean? It's so, yeah, shooting the videos myself, that directing them myself. Like it's a good time, man. It's been a very creative time, which is awesome at this long in the game, to still have something to say, still feel like you have something to say, and still be able to say it. Those are the 3 things that are so important,
I want to thank you. It's a little, people, this is a little taste of what's going on with them. I want you guys to kind of singles, so we're aware. Album comes out, we'll do some deep diving before.
Awesome.
We'll break it down. We'll get a little nerdier. But I want people to check out your other stuff and start supporting. Follow you now. Things are warming up.
All right.
You know what I mean? People check them out. And we'll do this again real soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. You let me know when the album comes back. I'll come back and we'll talk about the songs and everything else. So
awesome.
Talk to you soon, man.